And San Antonio Spurs coach Greg Popovich, Victor, he thinks it's outrageous that we ever celebrated Christopher Columbus, saying he took slaves, he mutilated, he murdered. It's not a knock on Italian Americans. That's a silly argument. It's like saying we should be proud of Hitler because we're German. Victor, what is wrong with this man, Popovich?
I don't know. I think a lot of the elite, this is a top-down phenomenon. I think a lot of the elite virtue signal this. It's sort of like the use of Latinx that nobody in the real world uses, but they feel that it's sort of a cachet among the wealthy and the elite and privileged, the academic class, because most people understand that Christopher Columbus was a very heroic individual. There was always tragedy when two cultures collided. But as we speak today, Laura, there are millions of indigenous people in Central America and in southern Mexico that choose to leave those cultures, not coerce, choose voluntarily to cross the border to accept a very different paradigm of free market capitalism, constitutional government, equality of the sexes, an independent judiciary, a Bill of Rights, and all of that was a unique product of the European Enlightenment, whether they like it or not. So people are voting with their feet, and they're voting in the opposite fashion, which our elites say that they should, apparently.
But Diderot and Raynal both wrote about the atrocities that were committed by explorers. I mean, this has already been accounted for, written about. We always look back on in historical times with some sense of horror because people change, things evolve, people have a new sense of understanding. But indigenous people also had their, which are also well documented, their own atrocities, correct?
Well, I mean, it's not just the writings of Bernal Diaz at Tenochtitlan, which is ancient Mexico City, that talked about human sacrifice. And I'm not talking about one or two, I'm talking at rates that surpassed Auschwitz in some cases, 10,000, 15,000 within a 30 or 40-day period, apparently, from indigenous evidence. And there was cannibalism from the Caribs and the Caribbean. So if you want to go back and pick and choose and turn history into this melodrama, it doesn't lead us anywhere. When two cultures collide, there's going to be tragedy, there's going to be melodrama, but you just don't use the morality of the present to condemn one side and say these were evil and these guys were good. It doesn't work that way.
Victor, we have to end by saying Happy Columbus Day to you. When we come back, Med and Jerry are melting. I'll tell you why.
Who the fuck is Victor Davis Hanson? Well, mostly he's known for his study in the classics. Greece, Rome, Homer, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and such. You know, all the wars that the Europeans caused over the years of their brief rule in this world. Well, then he moved on over, apparently, and wrote Mexiphonia, which I guess rallies on about how white supremacy kicked the shit out of the Mexicans, and for the most part, kicked their asses back to Mexico. You know, Viva la Alamo. But it's interesting how he briefly talked in this piece about ancient Mesoamericans, you know, the Azteca, and their own little brand of cannibalism. Although he never wrote on the subject, so that's curious because he seems to know a lot about the subject, and I'm going to, talk about this. So now he's white-splaining away Christopher Columbus by putting a blackface on cannibalism. Yeah, that's right. He's talking about cannibalism in the Caribbean. I'm a little lost for words on that. I never heard anything about that, but hey. Okay, but here's the thing. One need not go far to understand Hanson's superiority, that is white supremacy, and at its core, anti-black racism. But believe me, let's not forget white supremacy's convenient lack of revisionism, and that is to say atrocities committed against white people by white people. Alright, now the next is, some of you white folks out there, it's going to be hard to hear. But the next part of this is about Jamestown. And this is common knowledge here. So I need, this is common knowledge for global white supremacists. So y'all get with this. From 1609 to 1610, white people in the colony of Jamestown, Virginia, ate each other's asses. And this, once again, I say, is common knowledge. So Victor Davis Hanson, why don't you call it like it is? You're just trying to put a black face on what your people did in Jamestown. And take that for some critical race theory teaching.